All right, guys, we're going to get started here momentarily as these storms keep rolling in. Just testing this stream for the first time, so want to make sure that everyone can get in, they can hear the stream itself. See how this is going to go here. We should be getting rolling here shortly. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do a live breakdown of these storms as they come through and track them all the way through New York City for you. So just give me 30 seconds or so and we'll be starting here. All right, getting a couple of folks on. Again, this is our first live stream ever, actually. So really exciting stuff. We're going to break down these storms with you here over the next couple of hours and go through them as they come through New York. Right now, as we look at this here, we have a severe thunderstorm warning out for northeast New Jersey. So that includes areas like Elizabeth, Irvington, West Orange, Clifton, surrounding areas, down into Staten Island. Does not include the New York City metro yet. I'm going to go ahead and share this now. I think we're pretty well set up here. So I'm going to share this on social media momentarily, and then we'll get kicked off with the broadcast here. Okay. All right. So here's the current radar situation. Now, again, just want to stress what we're looking at here, the severe thunderstorms, the warnings are in orange. So I know this radar screen can be a lot, right? So our severe thunderstorm warning is going to be in orange. This orange box here, these storms moving into northeast New Jersey. They're in yellow. This orange box is a special marine warning. That's for the coastal waters off of Staten Island. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a high-resolution radar image here that we can track. This is out of Newark Airport. So zooming in, looking at a more specific coverage area. These storms currently coming through Union County with quite a bit of vigor here. Really actually approaching central Union County, so they've moved through places like Plainfield and Berkeley Heights, now moving into parts of Westfield and Clark, Summit, taking it on the chin right now, as well as Chatham up into Livingston. Again, this is our high-resolution radar imagery from Newark Airport, so doing a good job of picking up on some of the specifics. Flipping over to velocity, this tells us which direction the winds are going. So if we zoom in here and check out the velocity data, what we see is a lot of wind heading in the same direction. So your greens are moving towards the radar, your reds away from the radar. So if we zoom in here and look at those, this is where your sort of frontal system is with this storm moving from west to east. And you could very clearly see that this system is really actually quickly moving off to the north and east at this point through Union County. Now, I want to back up a little more so we can see New York City again. Here's a better view of this line of storms. Sometimes these local radars can do a bit of a tough. They have a tough job because they're zoomed in so much that we don't get a great view of what's happening regionally. So let's back up here regionally for a moment. We have a whole complex of storms coming down here through northern New Jersey. They're still not in Manhattan. They're just approaching Manhattan as we speak. So still in northeast New Jersey, just about getting to the Garden State Parkway in northeast New Jersey right now. A lot of lightning associated with these storms, and they're shifting off to the north and east. So this is our most recent severe thunderstorm warning box here. We see it in yellow, and our orange box here off to the south and east of that is for the coastal waters off of New York, for our boating friends and our marine friends. Again, backing up, let's pull up a loop and run through what this looks like in the last couple of minutes here and just back this up. So these storms are moving north and east, a little different than normal. Typically, our storms are moving west to east or northwest to southeast. These are moving north and east. So here comes the storm systems moving towards the New York City metro area in the last couple of hours. Here's your long loop of this moving off to the north and east. So again, Union County, northward right now, even down into parts of New Brunswick, north central New Jersey, getting hit with these storms as well. And these are going to continue to track off to the north and east in the next couple of hours, really. They're moving pretty fast right now. We're waiting to see if there's any reports of severe weather or damage in parts of northeast New Jersey. We haven't gotten anything yet. These storms have a multitude of threats with them. There's going to be the possibility of flooding. There's going to be the possibility of dangerous lightning as these storms come through, as well as those strong wind gusts. We mentioned those strong wind gusts being a significant issue. That's going to be a problem as we move through the next 30 to 60 minutes, and these storms continue to shift towards the New York City area. I'm going to go back to our high resolution imagery now. Let's get the latest on where we're at on a short scale here. So we'll zoom in. Again, these storms are just making their way in towards Newark. In Elizabeth, they've moved through Union County, central New Jersey, northeast New Jersey, taking it here. And then we have the next city that's going to get hit with the worst of these storms is going to be this corridor from Elizabeth to Union, Maplewood, and Newark as these storm systems start to move towards this region. Here's a long loop from the JFK radar, terminal Doppler radar. So here comes our storms moving towards this region. Again, these are producing a lot of lightning. They're producing a lot of heavy rain. Lightning is dangerous. The heavy rain is dangerous. The strong winds are dangerous. So if you're in the path of these storms, if you're right in this general vicinity to the east of these storms, that includes Newark, Patterson, Clifton, Bloomfield, now's your time. You want to get indoors. You don't want to be outside don't become a meme with these storms. Make sure that you're in a safe space here as we go through the next 30 to 60 minutes. These storms are taking their time. They're not moving all that quickly. I'm going to back up here again and take a look at the more broad regional view of this. But in the New York City metro, we are probably about 15 to 20 minutes away from this storm complex impacting the actual 5 boroughs. So that, not including the western part of Staten Island, which is getting hit now, but the 5 boroughs likely going to be getting hit here in the next 30 minutes or so. The storm system moving off to the east. Again, there's plenty of instability in the atmosphere. When you're tracking thunderstorms, you need 3 things to get thunderstorms to be severe and to have thunderstorms that are actually going to be impactful. Typically, you need instability, you need lift, and you need wind shear to organize storm systems. And we have all of those things today. We have all 3 ingredients in place right now as these storms continue to track towards the New York City metro. So that's why we've been so gung-ho on these storms today. We're very confident that these storms are going to come into the New York City metro here in the next 30 minutes or so, and that they're going to be impactful. Whenever you have those 3 ingredients, it's more likely than not that you're going to see an impactful severe weather event. So again, what we need you guys to do is share this link, get the live YouTube link out there. We'll track these storms with you as they come through the 5 boroughs, and make sure that we, get this out into the public so that we can make sure that we have damage reports. We want to be able to get as much information as we possibly can in terms of damage. If there's things going on, people need help, or these storms are actually severe, or they are producing damage as they come through the New York City metro area, we need you guys to do that. So zooming in again, latest radar, this scan is as of 1:52. This is the core of the strongest part of the storm, really from Livingston down to Westfield, moving off to the north and east. This is going to approach Newark. This is going to approach Hoboken, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx in about a half hour. Probably shorter time scale than that, I would say. Likely 15, 20 minutes, we're going to start to get this into the New York City metro area. Again, the threats with this: very heavy rain, flooding, frequent lightning. The flash counts are way up on this storm that's currently moving through Union County, northward towards New Providence, Chatham, Madison, all the way up to Livingston and Parsippany. These storms actually extend all the way up into northern New Jersey. We don't want to forget about our friends there. Heavy rain in northern New Jersey right now. This is the corridor that we're watching. I'm going to draw this right now. These storm systems, this corridor right here in the New York City metro area, the 5 boroughs and northeast New Jersey. I'm not good at drawing a circle. This is the area that we're looking at the highest likelihood of severe weather within the next 30 minutes. That's the area that we want to watch the closest as these storms continue to track closer to the New York City metro area. Again, please do what you can to share this link. get this out there. This is our first live stream. We're super excited about the work for this, the donations, the Patreon has made this all possible. You guys have made this all possible. And so we're able to set up our live stream and get streaming for the first time ever, which is really, really cool. So I'm going ahead and posting this on Instagram as well, which I, for some reason, didn't do. But I just did. So we should have a little bit of an influx of folks here. So again, thank you for the comments. I see it looks like flood advisory just dropped in New York City, thunder and lightning in Parsippany. Yeah, if you're in Parsippany, just zooming in, that storm system, this little storm coming through right now, actually moving off to the north and east towards Hanover, Livingston, Maplewood, likely included in that as well, as these storms continue to develop. So this is the latest scan. This is as of 1:56. So we're likely looking at storms moving closer to Newark. If you are in Newark Airport, or if you are on the tarmac at Newark, I have bad news. We haven't had any reports of a ground stop just yet, but I have a feeling that we will probably get one at some point here. As these storms come through, they're just about to encroach upon Newark Airport. In probably the next 15 minutes. Let's get the latest terminal Doppler radar here out of JFK, and we will see where these storms are. Yeah, so here comes your bands of heavy rain approaching right into, getting into Essex County now. So if Newark Airport, if my timing is right here, it looks like they have about 15 minutes before the storm systems are on top of Newark Airport. I haven't seen the ground stop information yet or anything on that. We could pull up our flight radar here in a couple minutes and take a look at that. It looks like someone says the ground stop was issued. Yeah, so good, smart decision by them. Probably in line with that severe thunderstorm warning as these storms come through. So they're about 15 minutes away from being in the New York City metro area. If you are further west in the suburbs of New York, if you are in Union County, if you're in interior Essex County, you are taking the brunt of it right now. These are severe thunderstorms producing quite significant lightning. Our flash rates, our lightning rates are way, way up over the last 30 minutes, which was the whole inspiration for the live stream in the first place. It was the fact that the storms really were getting more severe by the minute. So we do have a classic sort of look here to this radar in the New York City metro area. We talk about the shape of storms a lot. This is this sort of S shape to these storms. This is your little bow echo here, and this is going to push this way into the New York City metro. I am not an artist, by the way. This is going to push towards the New York City metro here in the next 30 minutes. This is your classic looking bow type storm system developing and moving towards the New York City metro over the next half hour. So let's back up again. We're going to look regionally and take a look at the latest radar scans here. Union County, Eastern Union County, Elizabeth, Linden, Union, you're getting into heavy rain now over the next 30 minutes. If you are in Madison, Summit, Berkeley Heights, Westfield, you have likely just gone through the worst of these storms. Further south, New Brunswick getting a new updraft. New thunderstorm has developed in this general region. That'll continue to impact the area over the next 30 minutes or so. This is our focus right now. We have this sort of S-shaped bow coming towards the New York City metro area. This storm right here has begun to accelerate to the north and east. So this is what we're going to watch is, does it start to pick up intensity still as it moves towards the New York City metro? Right now, our severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for northeast New Jersey. That's this yellow box. You can kind of see it here drawn out. It does not include Manhattan yet. It likely will soon as these storms continue to track towards the north and east and towards the New York City metro area. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. 705 Subway Series. Yeah, so this complex is very likely to be out of the area by the time we get to 7 o'clock. So I think we'll be good for game time. Possible that we will see some delays initially if the ground is overly wet or if there's some sort of impacts from the storms. But this will be out of here before game time. I expect the Subway Series game will get played. We got fairly lucky with this storm system coming through when it did. Again, latest radar scan. Looks like Patterson's about to get the storm system coming in. You can tell a lot about intensity of storms when it comes to the lightning, the flash rates here. And we see quite a bit of lightning over Madison and Livingston to Hanover right now. So this storm is fairly intense, likely to remain that way as it shifts off to the north and east. Again, I mentioned earlier, if you're just joining us, one of the reasons that we've done this live stream, one of the things that we're looking at earlier this morning, there's quite a bit of instability in place in the atmosphere, and there's quite a bit of wind shear to help organize these storms. So we're looking at a storm system that is more organized than your general garden variety thunderstorm. So that's why these warnings are being issued. That's why we have a severe thunderstorm watch in place. If you are in New York, if you're in Manhattan, Hoboken, the Bronx, Brooklyn, now is a great time to mosey on inside somewhere before this storm passes. Don't be outside during this one. There's quite a bit of lightning. There's quite a bit of heavy rain. And there's some strong winds with these storms as well. Let's go back on that hyper-local view out of the JFK radar here and zoom in and check out what we have going on here. Here is the latest. So, again, very heavy rain. Elizabeth taking quite a bit of lightning on the chin here. Union up to Maplewood, Livingston. These storms are not moving all that fast, but they will continue to move off to the north and east. If we pull up velocity data, again, I explained this before, but this helps us see the wind, which wind is moving towards the radar, which wind is moving away from it. So here's the boundary of where the winds are occurring, where the green meets the red right here. Don't see any distinct rotation, but what's happening here is all this green is pushing this way. This is the storm system and the strong winds inside of it. You notice how there's not much going on over here yet, right? This purple, this red, you can ignore that. A lot of that is feedback. This green line, where the green starts pushing off to the north and east, that is the area where the storm is delivering strong winds. And that's how we can track this on such a local scale. So if we back this up a little and pull it back a couple hours, you can very clearly see there were strong winds in this region, Westfield, Cranford, Clark, Kenilworth. And then as we have tracked this further north and east, just got a new update, they have continued to push that way. So now approaching Bayonne, approaching Jersey City, approaching Newark. And that's the story here as we approach, actually we just crossed 3 o'clock p.m. So these storm systems are going to continue to push towards New York. If you are in the city, if you are out and about walking, now's a great time to head indoors. I'm going to check out the radar out of Newark. They just got impacted by the storm, so sometimes it could be a little bit less accurate, but you can see very clearly the structure of this. And I talked about that bow echo moving towards New York. Here it is, right? Here's your bow. Here's the push towards New York City. So Elizabeth has been impacted by this system. If we go to the velocity data, we can see the wind. Same thing here, pushing towards it. And we'll flip back over to JFK. It lines up very well with what's coming on the radar here. So our wind shift is coming. It's moving towards Newark Airport. That lightning is getting closer. Let's back up again. Take a regional view and see what's going on here. Excuse me while I get myself organized here. Across northeast New Jersey. So here comes our line of storms. Patterson, Clifton, Bloomfield, Newark, you are next, approaching the New York City Metro quickly now as we go through the next 30 to 60 minutes. If you are in Union County or you're further inland, Hunterdon County or further northward, the worst is over in your area. The worst of these storms are pushing off to the north and east now. So in northwest New Jersey, western New Jersey, you're still getting rain. You still have to be on the lookout for flooding. But the worst of this is over in northwest New Jersey and western New Jersey, and the worst of it pushing towards the New York City Metro now. I anticipate there will be a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for parts of the New York City Metro here, probably in the next 10 minutes or so. We're getting some photos coming in here now of lightning in New York City. I don't see any shelf cloud structure yet, but we'll have to keep an eye out to see if that does develop here over the next couple of minutes as these storms get closer and closer to the New York City metro area. Let's check out the comments. What do we have going on? Just saw first lightning looking west from Manhattan. Yes, that's going to increase here shortly now too. These storms are really starting to get closer to the New York City metro. Newark Airport about to be impacted. Same thing in Maplewood, Livingston. There's our new update. So Newark getting hit with the storm now. And again, we still have the same shape to the storm. If we look at this sort of bowing action moving towards New York, this storm system curling up towards the New York City metro area. These are the things that we look for to try to figure out if there's going to be impacts, damage, or if there's going to be, if it's going to be more of a garden variety storm. And I talked earlier, for those of you that have joined us late, I talked about just the idea that there's some ingredients in place here today that are different than your normal storm. There's quite a bit of wind shear to help organize these storms locally, and a lot of instability. So basically, these storms have a little more going for them than your normal garden variety thunderstorm in the summertime. So, all right, now we have our storm approaching Newark, Patterson, up here, northeast New Jersey, going to get hit here shortly. And then this Boeing area is about to start to move towards Newark and towards the New York City metro. Staten Island getting the southern end of this northern complex here. Newark getting hit. East Orange, Bloomfield, you're next. Clifton, you're next. The Garden State Parkway route here, and I-95 essentially just east of Newark Airport up into northeast New Jersey, about to get hit with these storms in the next probably 15 minutes. Let's go back to that JFK high-resolution radar. We could really zoom in and see what's going on here locally. And now we have Newark really getting into it here, Maplewood to Union. So here's one of the more intense parts of the storm, and that is currently moving off to the north and east. Kind of really, if you look at the shape of this storm, it does have an arc to it that looks like the New York City metro will get in on some of this action with some of these stronger winds and lightning in the next 30 to 60 minutes. Still waiting to see if this severe thunderstorm warning is extended for the New York City metro. We'll go through it once it is, if it is extended to the New York City metro. Right now, this yellow box is a severe thunderstorm warning for northeast New Jersey. That shows you that area. This orange box here is meant to outline the marine waters in the New York City metro. And this is a special marine warning for strong winds. This severe thunderstorm warning back here in northeast New Jersey is going to expire in about 20 minutes. So the expectation here is that we could get a severe thunderstorm warning for Manhattan, for the Bronx, and for Brooklyn at some point in the next couple of minutes. We will have to see what the National Weather Service decides to do. But if we look at what happens here in northeast New Jersey, if you're in Union County, Plainfield, Westfield, Clark, up to New Providence, Summit, the worst is over for you. Same in Chatham, Madison, Hanover, up to Parsippany. The worst is moving off to the east. It is heading towards areas like Patterson, Clifton, Newark, Elizabeth, Staten Island, and the New York City metro in the next 15 minutes. Again, the main threats with these storms are going to be heavy rain and localized flooding, dangerous lightning, and the potential for strong wind gusts. The lightning with these storms has been quite frequent. Our flash rates have gone up quite a bit on the observational data that we have. And it's expected to continue as it moves into the New York City metro. As you guys know, lightning is a dangerous thing. So our advice is to stay indoors until these storms pass, until they get through the New York City metro area in the next 30 to 60 minutes or so. I'm going to zoom in here on this core of the storm, producing a lot of lightning right now over Elizabeth, over Bayonne, over Staten Island. This area also producing very heavy rain, so localized flooding likely occurring there. If we go look at the velocity data, here's our strongest winds now starting to show up. It looks like this is kind of the focus area right now, heading into Bayonne, heading towards the Verrazano Bridge, Staten Island. You can see quite a bit of lightning in this region as well. We mentioned earlier, and I talked about what this actually means. The greens are heading towards the radar and the reds are heading away. You can ignore this purple stuff. This is just feedback on the radar. But what this is showing you is where essentially the front is associated with this storm and where the wind shift is as this storm moves towards the New York City metro. So the brighter green colors are stronger winds, and the green sort of boundary moving towards this area is showing you where that wind shift is occurring. And this is what's happening right now as these storms move towards the New York City metro area. Again, ground stop at Newark Airport with these storm systems, with this severe thunderstorm, and probably a wise decision because quite a bit of lightning occurring in that area and quite a bit of heavy rain in this region as well across northeast New Jersey. If you're in the New York City metro, you should start seeing that lightning and hearing the thunder soon, probably already are. I'm going to pull up the latest radar image out of Mount Holly, New Jersey, get a little bit more of a regional view of this here and back it up to check it out. As you can see, it's getting close to crunch time for New York City here. These storms are coming in. Most indications are that there will be a severe thunderstorm warning issued and extended for this region towards the coast, but we do not have that yet. The National Weather Service has not yet issued a severe thunderstorm warning for New York City. If you are in northeast New Jersey, we didn't forget about you. Very, very heavy rain and frequent lightning from Ridgewood to Wayne, down to Montville, Patterson, Clifton. This area getting hit as well. This is a severe storm up in your location. And then the other focus of this storm right here, right now, is from Newark down to Elizabeth, Linden, and Staten Island. Really that 95 Garden State Parkway corridor up towards the Staten Island Expressway, really getting hit with very, very heavy rain and frequent lightning right now, according to the latest radar data. This is an impactful storm moving towards this region, and it's going to continue to be as it shifts towards the New York City metro in the next 15 to 30 minutes. Let's check out some of the comments here. Thank you guys for watching, by the way. This has been really cool. Actually, our first severe weather stream that we've ever done. It's been a long time coming, and the support that you guys have provided for us on Patreon has really made it all possible. It's allowed us to invest in the software and have the time to do this. So thank you guys. All right, let's see what we got here. Lightning 1 World Trade Center. That's always exciting. Coming towards Manhattan. We just left Reese Beach. That's a good idea. Don't be on the beach for this one. I wouldn't recommend that. A decent hail core. Yeah, these storms have produced some hail. It's kind of been up and down with the hail intensity. If we look at some more fancy products, you can see where the updrafts are the strongest. So Linden into Staten Island, this is where you'd look at a strong updraft. Union into Newark and Elizabeth also getting a strong updraft. The updraft is a way to measure how intense the storm still is. It's kind of like the engine of a thunderstorm. So the brighter colors there were showing us where those strong updrafts are. We can also look, we can go down here and check out some of the vertically integrated liquid products. Those will show us, and there's a high resolution one that I can check out too. Those will show us where the potential for hail is highest too, because the liquid content in the atmosphere tells us a lot. That's likely in this general vicinity, Elizabeth, Linden, down into Staten Island. So there's your hail potential with this. I would expect we're going to get a severe thunderstorm warning here soon for the New York City metro area. We'll have to see it probably update here within the next 5 to 10 minutes at the latest from the National Weather Service. We'll see what they do here in the next 5 minutes, but this is encroaching up. There it is. So there's your severe thunderstorm warning for the New York City metro. Kind of what we've been waiting for. We'll go and check it out and see what it says here from the National Weather Service. Look at the text. I always recommend reading the text here of these warnings. So the warning goes until 4:15, so that's for the next hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and penny-size hail from the storm system. Looking at the timing, it looks like the Verrazano Bridge at 3:25, Hoboken around 3:30, and then into Manhattan at 3:40. So we're talking about the next 15 to 20 minutes. Also a flash flood indication down here on this warning. So again, hail up to 3/4 of an inch. Radar indicated winds up to 60 miles an hour with this storm. So definitely a severe thunderstorm coming into the New York City metro area now. And, you know, we've been kind of lax about this so far, but I'll tell you right now, if you're in the New York City metro area, now's a good time to go indoors. It's not worth sitting this one out and being outside. It looks very likely that this storm will be into the New York City metro within the next 30 minutes or so. And we'll continue to track it as it makes there. Storm now just getting towards the Hudson River. It's finally making its approach. We can zoom in here and look. It's crossing Staten Island. Looks like it's just about near the Verrazano Bridge at the moment, getting close to that. At least that's where the wind shift is, the very, very front of this storm system, getting close to the Verrazano Bridge, the Bayonne Bridge, approaching Jersey City as well. Looking at the winds from this storm, again, these greens can tell you a lot, right? This is your wind shift. You can kind of track exactly where the wind shift is going to be with this storm system as it approaches the New York City metro. So it's just about go time. We're going to see what we have here. I'm going to check our social media, checking out and seeing kind of what's happening here live with this storm to see what people are reporting on social media. I encourage you guys to share the link here on YouTube as well. We really appreciate it. It's really, really cool to interact with you all and do this live. I know that a lot of folks are not able to get live information, live streaming weather coverage all the time, and I think it's something that is really important as we track these storms and our ever-changing weather in the New York City metro area. So let's go back to the reflectivity. Check this out. Here is our bow echo approaching the New York City metro. Now, we've talked about the wind shear helping organize these storms. This isn't just a garden variety thunderstorm. It's stronger than a garden variety thunderstorm. Actually, it's severe. And again, it's approaching the New York City metro area. Just getting near the Hudson River now. Jersey City, Hoboken, you are next. Northern New Jersey, we didn't forget about you. Clifton, Rutherford, Hackensack, Patterson. You're getting involved here now as this part of the storm also moves towards your area with heavy rain and frequent lightning. The strongest winds on velocity data right now are right in this area, moving towards the New York City metro. So again, some small hail possible, severe winds expected. And the one thing to note about these storms, just reading through some of the comments here, they're not constant. So if you have a thunderstorm that's producing severe winds as it moves through an area like Clark, Elizabeth, or Linden, it may not produce that swath of wind the whole way through. These storms tend to pulse up and down. They can kind of cycle in and out. So we'll see what happens here over the next 30 to 60 minutes. Let's pull up the Newark radar. Now, the colors are going to change because the Newark radar is behind the storm. The winds are going the opposite direction. But we can still get a good idea as to what's going on here. Here's our front approaching the New York City metro, Secaucus, Hoboken, New York. There's probably a shelf cloud of some sort with this storm system because of the forcing and because of our frontal system here on the front end of this storm. So New York City, very likely to get involved with the clouds and the wind and the lightning here, probably in the next 30 minutes. Within the next 30 minutes, New York City, probably 15 actually, I'd say right now. It's about 15 minutes before this is in the Hudson. It's right around the Hudson River. Hoboken is a couple minutes away from being impacted at this point. So that's usually the telltale sign that New York City is next as these storms approach New York City. Again, talked earlier about the lightning. Lightning can do a lot to tell you where the strongest parts of the storm are, right? We talked about that a little earlier in the stream if you missed it. But here's our swath of frequent lightning. This is moving right into the New York City metro area over the next 15 minutes, I would say. Coming in rather slowly. This is not a very fast-moving storm, so that's why we also have a little bit of concern for flash flooding as the system continues to shift towards the area in the next 15 to 30 minutes. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see. All right. Again, one of the most important things for us is getting live information, data from you guys as this storm system continues to evolve. So let us know what you're seeing. Newark getting hit with the core of this storm right now, moving off to the north and east, probably within the next 15 minutes or so. Likely we'll see conditions start to improve in western New Jersey and northeast New Jersey in the next 30 minutes. But until then, the core of this storm system is just about getting ready to approach Manhattan now in the next 15 minutes or so. Still clear in Manhattan proper, but you can see that front started to approach the New York City metro area. This is right here. You can draw it out very clearly on the radar where the edge of this storm is here, moving into New York City. Very, very clear. Worst is over if you're in Elizabeth, if you're in Union, Maplewood, South Orange, and Livingston. The worst of this storm system has passed. Woodbridge, Rahway, Clark, this whole thing has passed you. The worst is over. You could still get lightning, so I recommend waiting until the entire thing has passed. But the worst has passed you if you are in Western Union or Essex County. If you are in Northeast New Jersey, right on the river, New York, now is the time to get indoors. It's time to get indoors. This is not a garden variety thunderstorm. A little bit more punch to this one as it approaches the New York City metro area. Zooming in now, Brooklyn, you are on deck. This storm just crossing the Verrazano Bridge right now. Here's the Staten Island Expressway, and here's the Verrazano Bridge. So that storm just making its way past the Verrazano Bridge as we speak. right along the BQE, that lightning increasing and heading just into lower Manhattan, probably right past the Statue of Liberty, as they say on social media. Moving off to the north and east now. Manhattan, Midtown, and Upper Manhattan are going to get this a little late. This is going to hit lower Manhattan first because it's coming from southwest to northeast. And so lower Manhattan's going to get this one first. A lot of times we see storms come from this direction and drop down, but lower Manhattan is going to get hit first. Brooklyn, Staten Island already getting it, and then these storms are going to shift off to the north and east in the next 15 minutes. Queens likely looking at about 30 minutes from now. These storms are not moving very quickly. So we're also looking at the threat of flooding with these storm systems as they move through these individual cells, producing very, very heavy rain. Getting some photos now on social media about the shelf cloud moving through the New York City metro area. So looks like that is developing rather quickly in New York City. That shelf cloud moving towards the New York City metro and doing a decent job of making its way towards the area. We're going to try to pull up some cameras for you here. Let's see if we can get, I think EarthCam would be the best. Let's see if I can pull up a World Trade Center camera. Again, this storm is just making its approach to the New York City metro right now. It has not arrived just yet, but it will be shortly. It will arrive shortly, probably within the next 15 minutes, making its way in and bringing what is very likely to be severe weather to the New York City metro area. The World Trade Center camera is, of course, turned around and facing the wrong direction, but we can do our best to try to get live data from there. So again, the core of this storm, the worst of it right now, crossing Bayonne into lower Manhattan and Brooklyn. You see this very frequent lightning in this area. That tells us that the updraft of this storm is very strong. It tells us that this system has a lot working for it. And that's the core of it right now, approaching lower Manhattan. Downpour along the Verrazano Bridge, approaching western Brooklyn, southwestern Brooklyn. If you're in lower Manhattan, this storm system coming in now very quickly. Let's check out the terminal Doppler radar out of Newark. Very similar scene to what we see out of the JFK radar. So we know that we have this storm is pretty well tracked now by radar. Again, New York City metro getting hit shortly. Hoboken coming in. I think rain is likely will have already started. If you are in Hoboken. If you're in Jersey City, you've probably already seen several bouts of rain at this point impacting you, and I think that that'll continue. The main threats, I mentioned this earlier, the main threats with these storms, 3 things to watch for. There's going to be heavy rain, there's going to be flooding, lightning, and the possibility of strong winds. So I said 3 things, that heavy rain and flooding are one and the same. But again, the likelihood of heavy rain in New York City increases dramatically in the next 15 minutes. So if you are in the New York City metro area, now is a great time to be indoors. That's about the best advice that we can give you. I am going to try to switch over to a live cam here. Let's see what we can get here, see if it works. I don't know that it will work. Yeah, I don't think that it will. So we're still in the testing phase of this here, but I don't think we're able to get the live camera up at the moment. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see. Yeah. Again, New York City, if you're outside taking a walk, now is a great time to get indoors. Just wait for this storm to pass. It'll probably take about a half hour, not much longer than that. I think that you're very, very likely to be able to go back outdoors fairly quickly. I don't think that this storm is going to last all that long, but let's get indoors for this one because, again, we talked about the likelihood of this storm being severe. Very frequent lightning now crossing Bayonne into southern Manhattan, into western Brooklyn. Likely looking at a shelf cloud approaching the New York City metro. And as it continues to do so, it will bring that severe weather into New York City, the heavy rain and the strong winds. We've been getting a couple of reports of wind damage in northeast New Jersey as well. I've Been scrolling through our social media. It looks like there's at least some reports of trees being down and some damage in the in the northeast New Jersey, heading towards the New York City metro area, I should say. But we'll have to see exactly what happens here in the next 30 minutes. These storms still approaching New York City metro. Live camera out of Lower Manhattan is showing the shelf cloud moving over the New York City metro and that wind starting to increase, getting dark in the New York City metro as this storm approaches. Again, let's zoom in here on Brooklyn. If you're in Brooklyn, it is going to start to crank up here in the next 30 minutes. If you're in Western Brooklyn, it's already going. Eastern Brooklyn, 30 minutes. But watch this shelf cloud here as it approaches. Again, that wind's going to pick up. We have quite a bit of lightning. This is not a system that's going to weaken near the South Shore. I know that happens a lot in Brooklyn. This one's not going to do that. This is going to stay strong to severe as it approaches Brooklyn here in the next probably 10 to 15 minutes. South Shore of Brooklyn, including JFK Airport, about to take it on the chin in the next 15 minutes or so. Let's back up, though. I want to get a regional view here and get the radar out of Upton here on Long Island and take a look at these storms. Actually, let's go over to the central New Jersey radar here. So here's the regional view of this. The New York City metro getting this right now. Storm system moving in, sort of collapsing on top of the New York City metro. Here's your corridor of lightning right here. This is where we're getting our most severe lightning associated with the strongest thunderstorms approaching the New York City metro in the next really 15 minutes. It's already in Lower Manhattan. It's already approaching parts of western and central Brooklyn, and it's going to make its way into Midtown and the Bronx here very, very shortly. This is a high-resolution radar out of JFK. So we are looking at the most accurate radar data that we can. This updates every minute or two. So looking at nearly street-level radar data here. Again, here's Coney Island getting the rain here from the west to the east across Coney Island. Moving up, Verrazano Bridge getting whacked right now with heavy rain and frequent lightning as this system continues tracking off to the north and east. And then the New York City metro, Lower Manhattan, parts of the BQE, they're getting whacked as well. If you're in Jersey City or Hoboken, you're also taking it on the chin right now. This storm system moving in. Second storm off to the north. We didn't forget about you. Northeast New Jersey, East Orange, Bloomfield, Clifton, Garfield, Patterson, all getting heavy rain right now and frequent lightning. But the core of this and the focus of this is right here in the New York City metro. Moving into Brooklyn, moving into New York. If you guys have damage reports, if you see anything that you think should be reported in terms of severe weather, please do what you can to report it to us. It's super helpful for us to have that information. I think that, these live streams, the function of them as we move forward is going to be getting that live information, that live reporting, and getting it down and getting that information to you as quickly as possible. So again, super grateful that we're able to do this. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and donating and keeping this all. Letting this all happen. You guys really do make this all possible. So, all right. Our storm system now approaching the New York City metro area. I'm going to back up again and look at a little bit more of a regional view to get the whole structure of this system. It is a regional system. It's not just in the New York City metro. So severe weather all the way down to Middletown, Old Bridge, moving into parts of the far northeast New Jersey shore, so Sandy Hook, Highlands. You're going to get hit here in the next 15 minutes or so. Perth Amboy has already been hit down I-95, and then the Garden State Parkway, likely going to have problems here as this very, very heavy rain moves overhead. And then Staten Island, obviously, right now getting whacked with this storm system. The Staten Island Expressway, very heavy rain, frequent lightning right over the Verrazano Bridge into western Brooklyn. And the New York City metro also taking it. There is a relative gap right now between Newark, Hoboken, and Midtown Manhattan. We have what appears to be two really distinct storms. We have one up here over northeast New Jersey, and then this one impacting Staten Island and Brooklyn. So New York City, a little bit of a gap in between the worst of it, but that does not mean we should let our guard down because we still have this system tracking off to the north and east here towards the New York City metro. So coming in as we speak, let's take a look at the comments here and see what we got here. It looks like lightning near me. Raining in Williamsburg. Yep, we do have big old clouds in Coney Island, that's for sure. Big rubble of thunder in the Bronx. I would request, does anyone have any wind? That would be really, really, really helpful if you guys have information on any wind. If you see any wind damage, that would be super helpful. As we try to verify these, that these storms are severe, whether they are or aren't. A lot of times these storms can appear to be producing strong winds, but at the end of the day, the actual wind that comes down to the surface is not as strong as it might appear. Bayonne, Staten Island, Brooklyn, the focus right now. Watch this radar. We're going to loop it for you here. I won't keep this on loop because we'll all get dizzy, but I'll loop this radar here for a bit. Here comes the storms moving in. As you can see, Union County, Essex County, the worst is over for you here. This storm system is moving off to the north and east. And if you are in Newark, the worst is over for you. Elizabeth, the worst is over for you. The storm system now shifting towards the New York City metro and impacting Brooklyn and Manhattan. Staten Island, western and central Staten Island, you're just getting past the worst of it right now. Just barely getting past the worst of it. Manhattan, Brooklyn are going to start to get into it. It looks right now like lower Manhattan will probably get this a little worse than Midtown, but we'll have to see. Again, we sort of have this relative gap in the heavy precip from Newark into Secaucus and Weehawken. But Jersey City, New York, lower Manhattan in particular, getting hit with this. Here's the worst of that moving towards Manhattan right now. If you're in Brooklyn, this storm system is packing quite a punch. I mentioned earlier, you can tell a lot about a storm on radar by looking at how much lightning it has. And this storm has quite a bit of lightning with it. That's going to continue for the next 15 minutes as this storm system approaches Brooklyn and lower Manhattan. That's the core of this right now. I'm going to back up again. The regional view, I don't want to forget about anyone outside of New York. We'll take a look at what the regional radar shows. As you guys notice, this is lower resolution radar, but it still does a lot to tell us about what's happening, right? So here's the real core of this storm, Staten Island into Brooklyn right now. Another one up here, Ridgewood, Paramus, Clifton to Hackensack, Garden State Parkway, impacted significantly up here. Now we have the core of this, though, across lower Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. I'm going to go back to the higher resolution radar, which I think really does serve us well here. Just for clarification on what these boxes mean. This yellow box right here, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for the whole New York City metro area, essentially from Staten Island to Long Beach, Elmont, Great Neck. This orange box, I know these can get confusing. This orange box is a special marine warning. So this is for the coastal waters near the New York City metro area. This is not a severe thunderstorm warning. I toy with keeping these on and off. Sometimes there's too many boxes on the screen, but I'm going to keep it on for now. Actually, you know what? Since the storm is right over it, let's go ahead and remove all warnings. This way we can just take a look at the radar for a second. Okay, lower Manhattan, you are getting whacked now. Heavy rain and wind coming into lower Manhattan, now making its way up to Midtown, about to cross into Queens, crossing the East River. Your shelf cloud likely going to be making its way that way very, very quickly. Let's go back to velocity data. So this talks and shows us the wind on radar, shows us what's happening wind-wise. This is not precipitation. So the greens are moving towards the radar, the reds are moving away from it. Now, it's important to note the radar is right here, but if we look at this and we track this, here's where your shelf cloud's going to be, right? Where your wind shift is as this storm approaches. And here is where your strongest winds right now are, and that is in southwestern Brooklyn. That's where the models are saying there's going to be some stronger winds compared to elsewhere. This is right southeast of the Verrazano Bridge. So parts of Bay Ridge down into Coney Island, moving along the Belt Parkway, which... a severe storm moving along the Belt Parkway at rush hour is kind of a nightmare. And this storm will continue shifting off. But again, these brighter colors are showing you where the strong winds are. This is Verrazano Bridge, Bay Ridge, down into Coney Island, moving off to the east. If we track this here, these winds have shifted from about eastern Staten Island over the Verrazano Bridge towards Bay Ridge, towards Coney Island now. So quite a bit of lightning associated with this part of the storm as well. So if you are in southern Brooklyn, South Shore of Brooklyn, even central Brooklyn up towards Prospect Park, great time to be indoors, away from windows. This is the core of the storm moving overhead right now. I'm going to go back to the radar data and check out what that looks like. Here is your latest reflectivity, and we'll bring up the locations. So Manhattan, Hoboken, you're getting hit with this right now. Lower Manhattan getting heavy rain and stronger winds. Central, Midtown Manhattan up into the Bronx getting hit with some rain as well. Just a quick note, we've had several people ask this. Well, the expectation is that the Subway Series game tonight will be played. This storm system will move out of the area in the next 1 to 2 hours. So the expectation is that this Subway Series game tonight is going to be played. I think there will be, obviously the ground's going to be very wet and it will have been impacted by these strong to severe storms. But I do think that a lot of folks are kind of assuming that this game is not going to be played, but it is going to be played. I'm very sure of that. I would be very surprised if they canceled it. All right, core of our storm still over Lower Manhattan, very far eastern Staten Island, and Brooklyn. Brooklyn is taking it on the chin right now. This is quite a bit of an uptick in lightning recently, and I mentioned earlier the velocity data picking up also on these strong winds. So we have quite a bit of wind wrapping into this storm now. The core of it right now, according to this radar out of JFK, is over southwest Brooklyn. Let's flip over to Newark's radar. Sometimes can get a better look at it, and it seems to agree. The strongest wind is right here, western Brooklyn down into South Shore. So this is, I can zoom in on this a little more for you guys. This is the Verrazano Bridge right here. So this is the BQE tracking up. So very strong winds there down into Bay Ridge, into Coney Island, Sheepshead Bay. This is quite a bit of wind with this system as it moves through. This storm is strongest right now over southern Brooklyn as it continues to move through this area. Cloud-to-ground lightning increasing dramatically as well. Quite a bit of lightning with this storm system as it moves through. So if you are in Brooklyn, if you're in the South Shore, Central Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Coney Island, Prospect Park, Sheepshead Bay, Mill Basin, or even up Flatbush, this storm is coming in within the next couple of minutes. And now is a great time to be inside. If you have the option to be inside. I'm going to back up here regionally and look at this one more time just from a wider scale. And let's pull up what we have on reflectivity data. If you're in northwest New Jersey, the worst is over. I-78, Delaware River, all the way into Union County. This is just remnant rainfall. Keep an eye out for lightning with these storms, but the worst of it is over and shifting off to the east. If we loop this radar and look at what's going on here from a larger scale, we could loop it long time frame. Here's the whole deal of the storm system, right? It's shifting off to the east. So New York City is getting the worst of it right now. Let's zoom in again on Brooklyn because this storm is right on top of them now. I'm going to flip over to Newark's radar because JFK's radar is right here and it's about to be impacted by this storm. I'm going to shift over to Newark for that reason. Alrighty, here's our storm. Again, a lot of lightning with this storm. This is the flash rates on this storm are up again. So this storm system is strengthening over Brooklyn right now, producing frequent lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning, and likely quite a bit of strong wind as well as this system comes through. If you're in Manhattan, if you're in New York City proper, the actual downtown Manhattan, lower Manhattan getting hit with heavy rain, those winds are also going to start to pick up in this area as well. You'll notice the wind shift has passed, right? The green and the red tells you the separation of this. Here's the strongest part of this storm in Brooklyn. You can see how bright those greens are, but even in Manhattan, you now have these westerly winds coming in. So you're going to get some strong wind gusts in this region as this comes through. But the focus of the strong winds right now is in central and south Brooklyn. That's where we have very strong winds at the moment as this storm comes through. So backing up, let's look at this one more time. I know we have folks watching from all over the New York City metro. The suburbs are pretty much done with this storm complex here. If you're in Elizabeth, Irvington, East Orange, Patterson, Plainfield, Madison, Parsippany, Morristown, the worst is over. The storm's shifted off to the east. Still getting hit in Bergen County, but the worst of this is going to end soon. New York City is getting the worst of it right now. Brooklyn, Staten Island, Manhattan. Queens and the Bronx are going to be the last to get hit, but you guys are up next, probably within the next 15 minutes. The storm complex shifting towards you. You see the edge of it right here. This is moving to the north and east, so you guys are next. This is going to start to shift towards you within the next 15 minutes or so. This complex is not expected to weaken all that much yet. It'll probably weaken when it gets out towards Long Island, but it hasn't weakened yet in this line of storms moving closer and closer to the Bronx and to Queens. I want to zoom back in on Brooklyn here temporarily, see what we have from a more local look. Let's actually use this JFK radar one more time just to see if we can get a better look locally at this. Here's our velocity data. Again, this is a very localized but seemingly strong wind core across parts of Bay Ridge. This is down into just north of Coney Island right now, just east of the Verrazano Bridge, and probably just right along the Belt Parkway at the moment as it continues to track off to the east in towards central Brooklyn. So if you are in central Brooklyn, you're getting a lot of lightning, and the worst of it is not over yet. So make sure that you stay indoors here. If you are eastward on the South Shore, the storm is coming for you next. Here's the South Shore of Long Island here, Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, Point Lookout. This is the edge of the storm. Here's your embedded strong wind core in central Brooklyn, but this is all heading this way. So the South Shore of Long Island also next, in addition to Queens and the Bronx. So back up and look at the reflectivity here. Brooklyn, again, really getting hit here. Central Brooklyn getting hit very hard as this storm moves off to the east. If you're in Manhattan, this storm system still impacting you, but it's not quite as severe as it is down in Brooklyn right now. It looks like Manhattan is going to get a little bit of a gap between the worst of this storm. It's still very heavy rain and strong winds, but notice how the frequent lightning is down here in central Brooklyn and moving towards eastern Brooklyn. Still a couple heavy rain cores in here, though. So if we look at what's heading towards Manhattan, this rain core that's moved towards Hoboken is starting to shift towards lower Manhattan and will continue to do that in the next 30 minutes. This is the strongest part of the storm right now across Brooklyn, but Manhattan up into Fort Lee, the Bronx, you guys are next as this shelf cloud shifts off to the north and east and continues to move towards the area. So lightning will be frequent, rain will be heavy, and the strong winds are very, very likely as well. I'm going to pull the warnings back up here because I don't want to miss anything issued by the National Weather Service. Still no update out further east, but this initial warning does go all the way out into Queens, so I don't know that they'll update that immediately. We'll probably wait a bit before we get a new warning out into central Long Island. Here in Brooklyn, again, those strong winds, that very heavy rain, lightning, and thunder continuing for likely the next 15 to 30 minutes. Backing up again, I want to look at a regional view and check out what the radar shows in Manhattan. I'm going to pull up actually out of Upton's radar here. Heavy rain continuing essentially for the entire New York City metro now, coming down from Bergen County, Yonkers, into the Bronx, Manhattan, Hoboken, New York, Brooklyn, Staten Island. Still getting hit with very heavy rain. Again, I've mentioned this a couple times. The core of this right now is over Brooklyn. So what does that mean if you're east of this, right? These storms are moving this way. So the core right now is over Brooklyn. This is where your heaviest rain, most frequent lightning, and strongest winds are. But this core is shifting off to the east. And so this is going to eventually impact parts of Queens. It's going to eventually impact northeastern Brooklyn as well as it moves towards these regions in the next couple of minutes. These storms are not moving all that fast. They are taking their time, so they're producing some very, very heavy rain as they do so. Let's check out the comments here. Looks like those big winds have gotten into Brooklyn. Rain coming into Queens as well. I haven't seen all that much out of Manhattan just yet. I want to see if we get any reports on what's going on in Manhattan. Nice photos of the shelf cloud coming into New York City here. Looks like coming over lower Manhattan. Make sure you guys, my buddy Nick Isabella, his Twitter handle is NYC Storm Chaser. He's a great photographer. He has a cool picture of the shelf cloud over the Hudson River moving towards the New York City metro today. And it looks like these storms are going to continue to move eastward. Again, we just the focus of this. I don't mean to put any lack of focus on elsewhere, but the strongest winds that are showing up on radar imagery right now are over central Brooklyn, and they're shifting off to the east with these storms as they continue to move eastward. We will eventually see some weakening trend, as we are accustomed to in this area. These storms tend to weaken a bit as they move towards Long Island, but model guidance suggests that these will, they're not just going to die out, right? They're going to continue to move towards the east here in the next probably hour or two. So they will eventually get into Long Island. They will impact those areas as well. It's not going to just weaken and completely fall apart on itself. So again, very heavy rain continuing in New York. That lightning still frequent from Newark into lower Manhattan. We're still getting quite a bit of reports of frequent lightning. The flash rates with these storms have leveled off a bit, so they may not be immediately strengthening anymore. They're likely maintaining their strength as they move eastward into parts of Brooklyn and Queens now. Here's the latest radar imagery. We'll just go out of Newark's radar because JFK is now getting hit with this. You can very clearly see Brooklyn taking the worst of this storm right now. If you are back further west, which we talked about earlier, if you're back further west here, if you're from Patterson, Clifton, Newark, Elizabeth, the worst of this is over for you. It is not completely out of the way. It's not completely done, but the worst of it is over right now, and it's likely going to mostly be a heavy rain situation for the next couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so. In northeast New Jersey. Elsewhere in New York, you're still getting heavy rain right now in the New York City metro area. The webcams out of lower Manhattan are still showing very, very heavy rainfall as these storms continue to come through here and move off towards the east. Now, the worst of it also over in Jersey City. Although we still have quite a bit of lightning in Jersey City, the worst of it will end in that region in the next couple of minutes. Worst of it also over in Newark Airport. The delays will likely have built up a bit with that ground stop, but I think the worst of it is probably over in that general vicinity, shifting off to the east over the next probably 15 to 20 minutes. Should see the rainfall rates decrease in the New York City metro as well as the storm system moves eastward. If you're in eastern Brooklyn and Queens, it's almost showtime for you. The Bronx getting hit now as well as these storms continue to track off to the east. Queens getting hit momentarily here as this rain comes in. Again, the worst of this storm is still across southern and central Brooklyn, with that rain now reaching eastern Manhattan, the East River into Queens, likely starting to get into some more detailed action with this storm as it continues to move off to the east. I'm going to pull back up here the regional radar for our friends in New Jersey. We still have strong to severe storms across southern parts of the region. So this is down towards Philadelphia, but the Jersey Shore getting hit with storms now too. Manasquan up to Belmar, Long Branch, all the way to Sandy Hook. These areas are being impacted by storms too. These are new storms forming on the south end of this complex. So you can see it moving in, and there comes our new development, right? Watch them form here to the south and kind of get sucked into this storm complex. So these areas, very, very frequent lightning, very heavy rain across really essentially from Jackson off to the north and east. So the Jersey Shore, if you know people on the beach, shoot them a text. If you're on the beach watching this broadcast, that is really cool. But now's a great time to get indoors and get off the beach because it's about to get pretty ugly out there as these storms track off to the north and east. Back towards the New York City metro, Brooklyn, if you are on the Verrazano Bridge, Staten Island, or the BQE, the worst of this is starting to come to an end. It's not quite over yet, but the worst of it with the strong winds has shifted off to the east. That'll be the trend here for the next 15 minutes. Staten Island, Western Brooklyn, Lower Manhattan, the very worst of this storm will start to wrap up. It will start to shift off to the east in the next probably 15 minutes. Storm moves off to the north and east. Further north, Bergen County, Fort Lee, the Bronx. This storm's still just coming into the Bronx, Yankee Stadium, starting to get impacted up into Yonkers and White Plains. Those areas are going to get hit very soon as well. These rainfall rates are fairly intense with this storm. Just judging based on the webcams that we're seeing, these are impressive rainfall rates. I haven't actually had a chance to look at the specific data for this, but it looks like the rainfall rates are impressive. So localized flooding will be possible. Just a reminder, don't try to drive through floodwaters. It is not recommended by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it's a very dumb thing to do. If you do see floodwaters, just turn around or wait for them to recede. Don't try to drive your car through it, because we see reports every year of the same thing where people get stuck or they drown, and we've got big problems. So storm is still impacting New York City. It is 3:50 p.m., and if you are in northeast New Jersey, the worst of it is just about over. The back edge of this, just about getting to the Hudson River as we speak. And in New York City, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, still heavy rain throughout that area. In the next probably 15 minutes, this will start to wrap up at least a bit. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the New York City Metro. That expires in 23 minutes. So we'll probably see an extension of this off into at least parts of Long Island, parts of Nassau County, but it's hard to say exactly how the National Weather Service will handle this. This storm, to me, feels like it's right around the periphery of being severe. It's not a very, very severe storm, but it's also not just a strong storm. It's producing strong winds, frequent lightning. So this storm is right on the periphery of being severe. So we'll see what they do as this moves out towards Long Island. I'm going to back up here again and check out the latest, more regional radar. This storm system now just getting into Queens, moving across the East River into parts of the Bronx, getting in on the heavy rain now. Yonkers up towards White Plains and parts of far, far southwest Connecticut, getting into that rain as well. And I mentioned this earlier, but these storms also extend down the shore. They are impacting parts of northeast New Jersey here, the northeast New Jersey shore, I should say, from really Freehold to Long Branch, Red Bank, Sandy Hook. Severe thunderstorm warning for those areas as well. The severe thunderstorm warning continues for the New York City Metro and has been canceled back further west. You see it's been trimmed. Here's your border right here. I'll show you the western border. I'll draw it out. It'll be a little bit tough to see, but here's the western border of this warning. So the warning continues to the east of this line, but it does not include northeast New Jersey anymore. I mentioned the worst of it is over out in northeast New Jersey suburbs, and is now moving through New York City. It'll probably start to wrap up in the New York City Metro in the next 15 minutes or so. It looks like most of Manhattan has been able to avoid severe or damaging winds, which is a good thing, but we'll have to wait to see exactly how that is handled, how those reports come in if we do get any damage reports. So right now, it appears that the core of this storm has missed Manhattan. It does at least not produced any severe wind damage. We'll have to keep a close eye on any reports as we go through the next probably 15-30 minutes is when they usually start to come in. A lot of questions about the Subway Series tonight. We're still confident that the Subway Series game is going to be played. This storm, I know it looks really bad out there right now, but these are moving west to east. The back end of this storm system is already beginning to approach it looks like parts of I-78. So we're confident that this storm system is going to move through the New York City Metro with plenty of time to get that game in later today. And the thought process on our end is that the Subway Series game will be played. One thing that we can't necessarily account for is how the field does. Right, we don't know how the field will play based on this rain. Obviously, they have all kinds of things in place to prevent widespread flooding. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, let's check out the chat. Let's see what's going on in the YouTube chat. Thank you guys so much. This has been really cool. This is our inaugural live stream for New York City weather. Our hope is that we can continue to do this and get better at it. And we've talked about camera networks and all kinds of live information coming from you folks. So our hope is that we continue to do this throughout the summer, and then we'll be able to do this during winter storms as well throughout the next year. So it's been really cool getting to do this with you guys, and we have a lot of folks that support us in many different ways, and it is just, we are so grateful for it, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you guys. Okay. Lower Manhattan, worst of it is starting to move out west to east. We're starting to get the very back edge of this now. Hoboken starting to see those rainfall rates come down. Fort Lee, Cliffside Park, all the way up into northeast New Jersey. The Hudson River, essentially, getting to the back end of this storm system. You can see that the very back edge of it here starting to move into those areas. If you are in Staten Island, the worst of this is over. We do have looks like a flooding report here. I'll pull this up for us here. Just like a flooding on Highland Boulevard, which is very flood prone, so I'm not surprised. But looks like we will have some flooding issues in this area here over the next couple of hours. We mentioned these storms are not moving that quickly. So if you do live in a flood prone area, make sure you have a plan in place, because this is not the time to be messing with these storms. These are producing not only lightning and strong winds, but they're also causing flooding in your typical flood-prone urban areas. So if you do come across floodwaters as you are driving, I must strongly recommend, please do not drive through them, because it's a dumb thing to do. I've said that a couple of times on this broadcast. Just wait it out or turn around and find another way to go. Here comes rain into the Bronx. You guys are finally getting into it. Lower Manhattan, Hoboken, Staten Island, Western Brooklyn out of it. Eastern Brooklyn and Queens getting into it now. The Bronx, Yonkers, White Plains starting to get in on this heavier rainfall. Let's look at the JFK radar and see what it's got for us. Not doing a great job with this because it is being impacted by the storm. So we'll go over to Newark. A little bit of a better job. Just to give you guys an idea, these radars that we're looking at here, these are like hyper-local radars, terminal Doppler radars out of the local airports. So we have one out of Newark and out of JFK. So these are meant to provide you with a detailed look at intricate features of the storm. So we see that strong wind core that moved over Brooklyn before from the Verrazano Bridge eastward has shifted off the coast and has weakened. We now have a much more broad-looking storm system across the New York City area. And that's what these high-resolution radars let us do. The regional radars, which we will use here and back up, they're lower resolution, but they give us a much more wide, broad look at these storms, and they help us to take a look at what's happening here regionally. So here's our latest situation. Here comes our storm system. You can see there's a little bit of weakening trend, which is to be expected. We expected these to weaken a little bit. We don't expect them to totally die, but they've weakened a little bit as they've moved off to the east, especially over the New York City metro, over far southeast New York, and into Connecticut. If you're in Connecticut, these storms are moving off to the east. They're not severe, but they are producing very, very heavy rain and lightning. So again, you can very clearly see the heavy rain with this storm system. So this is approaching Stamford probably in the next 15 minutes, up this line to Ridgefield and Danbury, and Bridgeport probably within the next 30 to 60 minutes as these storms continue to track in that direction. In the immediate New York City metro area, so the Bronx getting hit hard right now as this storm comes through, that'll last about 15 minutes. In the majority of Manhattan, the core of this storm system is going to start to shift off to the east, and we should see things begin to wrap up a bit in terms of intensity. Staten Island, Elizabeth, northeast New Jersey, you're through the thick of it. There's still heavy rain coming. There's still lightning associated with some of these storms, but you are through the thick of this. And the storm system is now starting to shift toward Long Island in the next 15 to 20, 30 minutes or so. This storm will continue to produce lightning. It will continue to produce heavy rainfall. Flooding will continue to be a threat as these shift past the New York City metro and towards Long Island. So Queens, the Bronx getting it right now, heavy rain. I mentioned earlier the lightning, the flash rates. Notice how there's so much less lightning now than there was before, right? There's not a whole lot going on here lightning-wise. I'm going to take the warnings off so we can see. There's not a whole lot going on here. We have some flashes up here with this storm system in Yonkers, parts of the Bronx. A couple of flashes down here in Brooklyn and Queens. But in terms of new flashes, most of them are down here now over just off the south shore of Brooklyn. If we back up and look at where we were just about a half hour ago when we were in the middle of our coverage, you could see just how much more lightning there was across Staten Island, the Verrazano Bridge, Western Brooklyn, who got an intense part of the storm. The lightning has begun to drop off a bit as the storm moves off to the east. So the expectation as we go through the next 15 to 30 minutes is that this storm will continue to track towards eastern parts of the metro, so Queens, eastern Manhattan, northeast Brooklyn, and then start to get into western Long Island and southwest Connecticut. These are the two areas that are going to be up next with this storm as it continues to track through. Let's not forget about our friends down in New Jersey. This is still a severe thunderstorm down here, looking at parts of the northeast New Jersey shore. Heavy rain and lots of lightning with this storm here across the northeast New Jersey shore. Basically, Sandy Hook down to Neptune getting hit with heavy rain and lightning. So you should not be on the beach if you're in that area right now. These storms also go back west to areas like Trenton and parts of southeastern Pennsylvania. But the core of this in the New York City metro area is now moving east of the New York City metro itself. Let's take a look at some of the higher resolution stuff again out of Newark. We're going to start to lose this radar as these storms push away from the region. But again, here's our little local cores of heavier rain, right? Here over Queens, northeast Brooklyn, the Bronx getting in on some of this. Just a couple of lightning strikes right now, not a ton of lightning. We are seeing a little bit of an uptick right here in parts of western Queens, but they're not necessarily we're not necessarily seeing a huge amount of lightning with these storms. They're likely just below severe limits at this point, and that's why the National Weather Service has extended only a special weather statement out into Long Island. Now, what that means, special weather statement, is basically a strong storm is expected, but it's just below severe level category, I suppose, as defined by the National Weather Service. There's a couple of things that can define a severe thunderstorm from a National Weather Service perspective. Winds up to or over a certain threshold, and likely the possibility of hail as well. The National Weather Service specifically says if the storm has winds over 58 miles an hour or hail of 1 inch, it's a severe storm. So as you can see by this special weather statement, winds are in excess of 40 and the hail is pea size. So this is just below severe limits as it moves east of the New York City metro area. Backing up again, let's look at that regional view one more time here as these storms move through Queens and move towards the Bronx and really White Plains, parts of southwest Connecticut. Again, this is a heavy rain threat here now with the potential for lightning and those localized strong wind gusts as this moves through the area. Let's check out the comments and see what we got going on here. Alrighty. Heavy rain in Jamaica for sure. Looks like that area getting hit hard right now as these storms come through. Queens into the Bronx, up towards New Rochelle as well, getting hit with quite a bit of rain and lightning. Winds have been, based on the reports we've been getting, both from observational data and from social media, the winds have been sort of up and down. They haven't been consistently severe. We have not seen consistently severe winds with these storms. It's been more on and off. So we'll watch for another pulse up. But these storms right now are producing a lot of lightning, a lot of rain, not a ton of wind, and that is something to note, because if your storm is not producing winds over 58 miles an hour, it is not severe, as defined by the National Weather Service. All right, let's flip over here one more time to the Newark radar and check out what we got. So, a couple things from an actual impact perspective. The worst of the storms in Manhattan, in Staten Island, and Brooklyn are starting to shift off towards the east. Queens, the Bronx, you still have a little bit of time left. Yonkers, into White Plains, southwest Connecticut. You still got a little time left with these. But the worst of it is over pretty much from Manhattan westward. We still have periods of rain behind these storms, so it's not just going to stop immediately. We still have periods of rain that are going to continue for the next 30 minutes or so. But there is dry air coming in behind this storm. It is making its way into western New Jersey. You can very clearly see that on radar as I've outlined. So the back end of this activity is eventually going to push towards the New York City metro area. Let's go and see where it is right now. This is the clearing with this storm system. It's just on here. We use I-78 here in New Jersey as a threshold for this. It's just getting towards Bedminster, Bernardsville, Chester, White House Station, and it's shifting off to the east. So If you're in Northeast New Jersey, you should start to see a significant improvement in your weather in about a half hour. If you are in the New York City metro, you probably got about 45 minutes left before the weather starts to improve. But this dry slot here coming in, moving through, is going to push the rest of these storms out and clear things out a little bit tonight. We're not expecting a huge drop in the humidity. It's still going to be pretty unsettled out there. Despite these storm systems, it'll be more of a brief break as they move off to our east. And we're expecting the warmth and the humidity to really start to build again by tomorrow and Thursday. So still impactfully warm and unsettled weather as we go through the next couple of days. Okay, let's zoom back in again. One more time here. We're going to take a look at this storm, and then we're going to leave you here as these storms head out of the New York City metro and towards Long Island. Just so you know, we will continue our coverage on social media. But the focus of today's live stream was just on the New York City metro area itself. So if you're in Queens, still not done with this yet. We're still getting heavy rain. We're still getting lightning, and we could still see some gusty winds. It's not likely that we're going to see gusty winds, as these storms are likely just below severe limits. The Bronx still getting it hard here, and Yonkers up into White Plains still getting hit hard. Manhattan, we can zoom in on you. It's raining there. Someone reported a big lightning. Here's your lightning strike showing up on radar. You said the Upper West Side, and you are correct. Here it is. Here's your lightning bolt. Looks like just about Midtown, maybe a little bit further north from there. So you were not making that up. That was definitely a big lightning strike. And that's a nice reminder that even though the core of this storm has shifted to the east, you can still get lightning across areas like Manhattan, across areas like Northeast New Jersey. This is still part of the storm. So there's still quite a bit of instability in the atmosphere. You can still get lightning down in these areas as it shifts through. But the worst of it is very clearly shifting off to the east of the New York City metro right now. It'll probably be out of Queens in the next 15 minutes. And that back end is also racing towards the area here from west to east. You can very clearly see moving on I-78. So figure about 15 to 30 minutes across the Northeast New Jersey suburbs, you'll start to see those improving conditions in areas like Morristown, Madison, Plainfield, Piscataway. And then in about 30 to 60 minutes, that'll start to get closer to the New York City metro. So that puts us at right around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We'll start to get into improving conditions in the New York City metro. I mentioned earlier, I know it seems really bad out there right now, but we're still expecting tonight's Subway Series game will be played. It's likely still have some residual wetness, but they do a lot to take care of that field and the area around it. So it's very likely that that game is going to be played. I don't think that there's going to be a cancellation. It's possible that it will be a delay, maybe to leave some extra time because of this heavy rain, but I think the game is going to be played. These storms, again, shifting off to the east now. I'm going to do one more zoom in here on it. Queens still getting hit. Eastern Brooklyn and Queens still getting hit with this heavy rain. But again, just watching the movement of this storm, it's generally been on a weakening trend for the last 30 minutes or so. And we expect it to continue to do that as it moves off to the north and east. I want to make a reminder. Please do not drive through floodwaters. And if you live in a flood-prone area, when storms like this come through, just be careful. Have a plan in place, because these are moving slowly and we still have 30, 60 minutes of rain left ahead of us. These flooding issues can still occur even after the worst of these storm complexes move through the area. So please don't drive through floodwaters. And if you do live in a flood-prone area, even if you're on Long Island, central or eastern Long Island, these storms are going to continue to move to the east. They're not severe right now. They will weaken a bit, but they're still going to produce heavy rain as they move through this area. So again, timing-wise, New York City metro, probably an hour from now, we'll start to get into improving conditions. We still have some rain to go through. The worst is over. The worst is over in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx. Queens is just hanging on to some heavier rainfall, but that'll shift off to the east towards Nassau County, which is going to get hit by heavy rain and lightning here in the next 30 to 60 minutes. That back edge, though, pushing eastward on I-78. You can see it very clearly here, taking its time, but it's getting there, and it's going to continue to shift off to the east. One quick note, our friends northeast New Jersey shore, still looking at heavy rain here. This is likely to continue for the next 30 to 60 minutes, so stay indoors down here along the beach and just inland from the northeast New Jersey beaches until this storm passes. In the New York City metro itself, the worst is over, but those rainy conditions are going to continue for the next 60 minutes or so. We do expect improving conditions tonight, and we do expect that Subway Series game will be played. Wanted to thank you guys for joining the stream today. This is actually our first time doing this, and it took a while to get set up, and really the support from all of you made it all possible. We have a lot of people that support us in many, many different ways, and it was really, really cool to finally be able to do this. Our plan is to continue to do this throughout the summer, and then into the fall, we'll do this with winter storms. We can have live streams really for any type of weather event, or even just on a nice day as well. So we have lots of fun stuff planned. Thank you guys for joining us today and for making this all possible. We will continue our coverage on social media, but we're going to end the live stream right here. If you guys have reports, comments, or thoughts, any feedback on the stream itself, please just send us an email or shoot us a message on any social media. We're all over the place now. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure to follow us and share and follow our YouTube as well. Thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate you watching, and we will be back with another stream likely later this week when we have our heat wave and another severe weather event on Thursday. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.